Comedy.
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 Commedia.
Comedy.
Ciao. Welcome to the Comedy Hall.
Perfect.
Hello. Ciao.
Welcome to the Comedy Hole podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a
Wapparappa.
special guest.
Beatrice
Rossano is our regular host. Jordan Thomas Gray.
Jordan Thomas Gray.
Ariel Bialski is also here, but we have a special guest. We have a very special guest. We have Filippo
Spreafico.
Filippo Spreafico.
Thank you. Hi. Everybody. How are you? Thank you so much for having me in your Airbnb.
Thank you. Now, we are live here in an Airbnb in Rome, Italy, of course. And
Of course, Italy.
Of course, Italy.
No,
Yeah.
we are in Moldova.
No, we're not.
Look at this.
Well, silly bit.
We gotta redo this intro now.
It's clearly we're in Rome, Italy. That's why the window's open. We're having a nice time, and we have a very well-known comedian in the scene in Europe. Filippo.
Considering how big the European scene is, we can say I'm one of the big fish.
Top
Yes.
50.
Top 50, yes.
Yeah, absolutely, top 50.
Based
comedians.
in Berlin, Filippo is.
Yes.
And now we're in Rome, Italy.
And now we're in
That's
Rome,
my
Italy.
contribution to this intro.
This is how I like it, you know? This is how I like to enjoy my time, going around and bringing some smiles to the people. I really have a good time
Yeah,
to
you're
do
not
this.
into conflict, nothing like that. You're
No, I live life as it comes.
So Filippo, you've done Edinburgh many times. You have a radio show.
Yeah.
You
did
called
Italian
Anything
TV
Goes.
show.
You've been on Italian TV.
Yes, I have done all of those things and more. Yes, I have done that. I am proud. I'm proud of myself, and many others might be hating me for having such success, but you know,
I'm jealous personally.
Yeah, you probably are.
Yeah.
But I mean, you're a new guy.
I'm new.
You're a new guy in
I'm
my
a newbie.
life, at least.
Hey, I just met you.
Yes. So it's good to be here. You have a beautiful face, Ariel.
Thank you very much. Thank
Yeah.
you. I've been working out.
He's pretty blue eyes as well.
It's got you guys. You guys met in the same year, doing the same.
My first set was at a show he was hosting.
Yes. Yeah.
Nice.
Last
I
year.
host a show in Warsaw.
And what about your first set?
My first set was when I was 18 years old.
Wow.
I did a set, and then I never did a set again until Warsaw.
Wow. Well, my first set, I was in Chicago, and I did a show because I followed a course in stand-up comedy, and then I ended up I had some very bad jokes, and the teacher at the time was like, "Oh, you shouldn't do these jokes just as they are. You should spice them up. You should play the piano." But I didn't know how to play the piano. Oh man, what a night!
Now,
Yeah.
as I understand it, it wasn't actually night. It was during the daytime.
Yeah, as you understand it, yeah, because you can read through me. I know you do. It was afternoon. It was 2:30 in the afternoon.
What's your favorite time of day to perform comedy?
Around lunchtime, if lunchtime was at dusk.
Dusk time.
Dusk time.
I love a little dusk
I
with
like
my lunch.
dusk because it's. I think the dawn is more magical, but dusk is so much better because there's bats. And
Right.
especially not everywhere,
Of course.
but
Just in caves,
In the
mostly.
in the best comedy places, you will find bats.
Huh.
Because bats are the purveyors of darkness and. So
So you went to clown college, yes?
I went to clown. It was not a college. It was a school because it wasn't recognized by the government
wasn't
or
accredited?
any
Accredited?
organization of World Health. And so the issue is that I went to do the TV series Baskets that Louis C.K. made.
Yes.
Yes. So this school has nothing to do with that.
Okay.
It's actually not there were no desks nor anything. It was just like it was playful. It was very playful.
Okay.
Yeah.
How many years?
I just did it for 9 months, but usually the full course is 2 years. It's called Philippe. It's called Philippe Gaulier. It's called École Philippe Gaulier.
And so is that what drew you to it? It was close to your name.
What drew? No, I was hitchhiking, and I was dropped very close to the town because it's not in Paris in the south. It's in the south of Paris.
Okay.
I was dropped really close, and then I saw a sign that said International Clown School, and I was like, I might work as a gardener for a few months and then get into the school, and it worked out well for me. When I came out of that school, I had a few more friends than before, but still nothing really changed for my career, which is paramount.
Did you
to the
start-
type of job that we do?
Sorry, did you start doing stand-up before you went to the clown school?
Yes, I did.
Oh, so you already were interested.
I was interested in doing something to expand a little bit what I could do, and so where did you go? Like, sorry, you were not in the podcast for a while.
No, because I don't agree with this restart, but okay. Go ahead.
Oh, we had a false start earlier, just for the listeners that we might cut into right now.
Can we actually make them listen to the
false start
here?
Okay, right
Yeah,
now,
yeah.
false start.
And our special guest for today is
Jimmy Pepperoni.
No, it's Filippo, ladies and gentlemen.
Spreafico.
Filippo.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Oh, thank you so much for having me.
Yeah. So today, all the day, we are going to be speaking, and we're going to be doing this podcast. We're actually in our Airbnb in Rome, Italy. We're doing a little tour.
Is there another Rome? Why you have always to say the countries? Like, we're in Warsaw, Poland. We know.
We're in Italy.
No, because there is, there is Toledo, Spain, and there is Toledo, Ohio.
Yes, and there's Rome, Italy. It's the one and only. You're right.
Yes.
I'm an idiot. Okay, is that what you wanted to say? I'm a fucking idiot. But we're here in the Airbnb. We're just in Naples, and we're here in Rome, the one and only, I guess.
Jordan, what's on your hand right now?
Keep calling Ariel Jordan.
My name is
Jordan,
Ariel.
sorry, Ariel.
Yes.
Jordan, what's on your hand
Because
right
they're
now?
dressed in the same way.
A microphone.
Thank you so much for having me in this Airbnb. I don't know what we're doing right now, but
For
The
those of you
podcast.
who don't know, Filippo Pepperoni is
this is not good for my marketing image.
Filippo
At all.
Spreafico.
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 Not even the name they know before. Anyway, yes.
And now say some more things about yourself, sir.
I've never heard a worse interview.
Jordan.
I am disgusted. I am disgusted, but lack of professionalism. You have a 4-way recorder with 4 microphones,
Yes.
right? You could have been interviewing anybody from the street, I suppose. Huh?
But
not
we chose
prepared.
you.
You're not prepared to be
Why
with
are you
me.
staring at me saying that?
Because-
they tell me not to prepare. Every episode I try to prepare and they say, no, it has to be spontaneous. It has to be
Listen,
no structure
Jordan,
whatsoever.
Jordan, considering the fact that we've been knowing each other for a day and a half now,
Mm-hmm.
how would you describe me?
Italian.
I think it's spot on. I think Jordan just nailed it.
my God!
That's a spot on. That's absolutely true.
But like in what way? Like Italian, considering in what aspect do you think? Like in
For
Like-
me, just too funny to see Jordan crying. It's
What
the first time I see Jordan
ever
crying.
since I met
Yeah.
Filippo and I renamed him Jimmy Pepperoni, I have been laughing harder than I've laughed in months.
It's the most disrespectful thing. So Jordan,
I knew I was not gonna get any respect from you because we get along fine, and then you get any other fucker who does comedy in Brussels or does comedy in like Nebraska, and you treat them with the utmost respect just because I made a meal for you. Now you think I'm not a big shot. I don't like this about you. I really don't. He's crying from his nose.
he loves it. He loves. Yesterday, Jordan was so drunk, and it was the first time I saw Jordan so drunk. And he would just go up to people, Italian people, and just yell at them Italian, just frutti di mare.
What I
Frutti
asked
di
myself,
mare.
how is this not racist?
It is very.
it is. It's
How is
racist.
this not
This is
racist?
very
It's
racist.
racist.
Very
And
racist.
why do I have
It's
to
like
withstand it? Huh?
It's like if you went to the U.S. and you went up to people and you were like, a cheeseburger.
But we don't do that.
No, hey,
I would love it if you did.
We do it from
That would be
here.
so funny to me.
no one would do that. No, it's not a good thing.
It's not because then they shoot you.
Actually,
In
they
the US,
loved Jordan yesterday. He was drunk enough to get away with the ridiculous racism.
over the
I go
top.
to the US and I shout cheeseburger.
Yes.
I might get shot.
Yes, yes.
So they would just hand you a cheeseburger.
Yes, and yesterday in Napoli, when Jordan was doing that, they were like, frutti di mare. He's so cute.
Oh, they love it.
They loved it.
They loved it.
It was bizarre. Well, do you think that's a racist thing, though?
No, because your understanding of racism is so hyped that what we if it's a joke. It's just a joke. Like your Jimmy Pepperoni, Frutti di Mare is just a joke. It's not
actual racism.
It's not actual racism.
But
No.
it is racist.
But it is racism, but we
But
don't
it
care
is.
as much. So if we don't care as much, then it's
not
just a
real.
joke.
It's racial.
Racism is in the eye
by,
of the beholder.
It's lack of respect, but not. It's not like
We've lost the
insult
racist audience now,
motivated
though.
by.
Yeah,
we've
we
lost
lost
all the
the ra-
racist.
yeah.
All the racist listeners are like.
Yeah, and also it's not hatred, it's just stupidity.
It's just me being a fucking
It's-
moron. Yeah.
Yes, no.
Just because in this trip, Ariel and Jordan, they turned into dumb and
Very
dumb.
silly. We've been dumb and dumber this whole time.
Yeah. And by that, we mean we've been just drinking, though.
Yeah.
That's really, there's no other thing.
No, but
okay.
you-
But today we have a
Jesus.
please let's be respectful towards our most popular Jimmy Pepperoni.
Jimmy Pepperoni,
Guys,
ladies and
it's
gentlemen.
not his name. His name, let's be respectful, is Antonio
Thank you, everybody.
Vespucci.
Thank you so much. It's so great to be here with you.
Yes.
I've been waiting so long to be in this podcast.
But Filippo,
Yes.
tell us how did you start comedy?
Transition right to the list of questions.
By the way, nobody knows anything about me, so you're asking me when I do it first and blah blah blah. After you've called me Jimmy Pepperoni for the whole time, I have no credibility right now, and people should not be listening to this because there's no point in me telling the audience. Like, you haven't even said, oh, this guy's being on Italian television. He has his own podcast. He's been touring Europe. He went to Australia. He went to the United States. He does Edinburgh 3 times. You have not done any of this work, which should be the work that you do to flatter me, right? So now I find myself having to sing and dance for myself in your show. You understand how ridiculous this
Do you
is?
have any topics?
Shall we?
No,
shall we have?
no way, no
shall
way.
we have?
Fuck the topics.
Shall we have a better beginning?
No. We stick to
The
this.
beginning was perfect.
Perfect.
It's not possible to repeat it again.
And we're back.
Wow, that was quite something, wasn't it?
Excellent.
Yeah,
Yeah. So you were into comedy. You did clown school. You were into it.
yeah.
And so it didn't help you with your career, but you were in
No,
France.
it actually did because in our career, and sorry if I speak on behalf of everybody here.
Okay.
In our career, it's not really about what you achieve, but it's about how do you feel inside. Because once your self-perception changes, everything around you changes. This is an argument that could be made for any type of career in a way, but no, because we live in a rational world. But we live a little bit in a very irrational world. And I believe that once you go through an experience that changes you and changes the perception of what you do, then also you have a certain kind of advancement because people perceive you, because other colleagues in the job, they perceive you in a way. You have more confidence.
I totally agree.
you
with
know,
that.
and
But
so
then you can risk to lose your persona. That's what you're saying. If you only try to get the glory or the pleasing the others, you will lose a bit.
you lose what you have to offer, because what we do is about something very spontaneous and very I mean, I believe this in general for any kind of job you do.
Filippo,
But, yeah.
I completely agree. Because even for
Thanks.
myself, because I'm a DJ, musician, like when I first started, I would just DJ wherever and be like, oh, I can be paid this much? Sure, whatever. At this point, I can turn down jobs. You pay me triple the price of somebody.
Yeah.
And I feel that way because I know my self-worth, because it's not even about my skill. I could have 10
it's
years
just
ago.
something that happens
It's
that
just
you
you
bring
feel
to
it.
the people, that
Yeah.
it's unique and you
Totally.
know it.
Yeah.
So you own it. So there's no problem. Like, you don't need any kind of external, validation, because you are your own external validation.
Yeah. I totally understand that. I absolutely agree with you.
But this comes with experience. It comes with understanding that even when you start out, you have certain ideas of what you want to do, and you don't manage to do them. Yeah, it doesn't mean you shouldn't do them. You know, because a lot of comedians will come up to you and say, "Oh, you know, like if you want to get booked, or if you want to, like, I need something that is a bit more together."
Right.
And I think this is very ill. It's very bad advice, especially at the beginning. Because if you are interested in comedy as a career, you should know, first of all, that it's not about success. Comedy is about failure, and you should embrace it. And this is why people watch it. And this is why very good comedy is about failure. And it's not about... So of course, you have to make some money, but you will make the money that you need when you follow through with what you have to give.
I love that. Yeah. And bombing is part of the process, doing poorly, trying new things not going according to plan.
I also say that there is a certain, then there's the other side of the coin, which is that a lot of people start to kind of even feel pleased with themselves for having...
Enjoy.
Thank you. They start to, because the word was, they start to, si compiacciono, you know? That word?
Oh, okay.
Anyway, they're pleased with how bad they are. You know, like they start to sort of I am deliberately bombing. No, you're not deliberately bombing. You don't know how to take what you're doing seriously and really make it shine. You are just finding a cheap way out, and you're just saying you're goofy. No.
Right.
Like you need, and this is a mistake that I've done many times, and I see other people do many times.
Right.
Like you need to take, you want to succeed in your failure. You don't just want to fail on your failure. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Absolutely. I like your philosophical thoughts about comedy.
I'm all about philosophy, man.
Now to give the listeners a thought about where you're from, because really Beatrice met you. How did you two meet?
We met in Berlin.
Yeah.
Because I was organizing a show
In Italian.
but we didn't do it in the end. We did a show in English.
Yeah. So basically, I had to open Filippo for his solo show in Italian.
Okay.
Through some people we both know.
Yes, there was a booker that does Italian bookings in Berlin, because they started doing shows in Italian in Berlin.
Is there a big population of Italians?
There's a big population of Italians pretty much anywhere you go. It's just that they are all, in caves, restaurants. They're just doing the dishes.
Right.
So I had to open for him in Italian, but then he switched the show in English.
We switched the show into English. And so she did it in English, she actually is very flexible.
Right.
Yeah.
I think it was you only did Italian when you would go back to Italy.
I remember we had a call on the phone like before we met, and I was like, I did it in Italian like 12 times. Do you think it's okay if I say some words in English and you say something like, yeah, sure. I never did 1 full hour in Italian.
No, I never did. And actually, though, I did like a couple of days after.
You did?
After I told you. I did a full solo show here in Italian, in Rome, in July.
Was that the most you've ever done? Like the length?
I'm trying to think, but like a full solo show in Italian? No, maybe not. Maybe like 45 minutes.
Okay.
But like I did it like an hour and 10 minutes that night. But it's because for me, Italian comedy came second. It came second.
Do you prefer performing in English?
I can say I prefer to perform in English. It's two different types of satisfactions, because when I manage to do, I already find that I've taken comedy, stand-up comedy, in a way that it's windy in here, so we're getting scared.
Spooky.
You don't need to get scared, especially because you can't hear the wind. So I like comedy, but I also just don't. I like in a way doing. I don't like just jokes. I don't know. Like I like a certain kind of comedy, and already I find that stand-up comedy in Italian is kind of a new thing.
Mm-hmm.
But it took the path of the more, like Bill Hicks, the more like Sborra path of like the dark side of stand-up comedy. Like, the dark, confessional, because Italians are not very, they're very ironic or they're very cynical, but they don't like to appear as vulnerable on stage. So that's why also in other traditions, there's more like cabaret, more characters, more satire, more critique of politics. But stand-up is more about yourself and putting yourself naked in front of everybody, which is not something that is very common.
Yeah, it's
and
not.
I take this as like Catholicism versus Protestantism. Catholicism is much more withdrawn. It's more about images. Protestantism, you think of Hyde Park's Corner, free speech. There's this connection here.
But do you think
Anglophone countries are a bit more, you talk a bit, which doesn't mean you're better. Don't think this is what I'm saying.
Yeah, Jordan.
Do you think that alternative comedy will ever be
mainstream?
Understood here in Italy?
No, what I was saying is that sometimes I do things that are already weird for standard English-speaking comedy, and somehow I find that it still works here because there is a tradition of surrealism and there is a tradition of alternative comedy is something that needs real comedy to exist. But still in here, there is no such clear-cut division. I find in a way that here sometimes I experience more freedom because there's less categorizing in the first place. So this is better. And so when I do things in Italian that are kind of weird, people get the spirit. People get if people understand the spirit, there is no like, oh, this is proper, this is not proper. If the spirit is good, because when you then focus only on making jokes that have to make rational, linear sense, you're in a way, sometimes you kill the spirit unless you have jokes that really reflect your point of view.
Now,
like joke writing for the sake of joke
this
writing.
Limit is given in Italy? Do you think that this limit is given more by the audience or by the comedians?
By the comedians, always because the audiences are very open and very intelligent in general. They find that like it's not like how you are at home. They are out. They're willing to see something. They pay the ticket, so they're willing to be surprised. And it's always like in TV. It's always producers second guessing what audiences expect that make audiences dumber.
To me, I think philosophy about or like thinking about comedy
is not funny at all.
No, it's okay. It's totally fine. But with that said, like about specifically you. I mean, you have very serious opinions about comedy, which is in itself ridiculous for everyone. I think we all have serious opinions about comedy.
Yeah, but it's my job.
But like, when you were a kid, and maybe this is like a bad line of questioning, so whatever.
You want to bring it down to my past traumas?
No,
fine.
Yeah,
I'll work with that.
Yeah, but like, why do you care so much about comedy?
Why
in the
so
sense
serious?
when you were a kid, were you funny?
Because it's my religion.
When you were a kid, was it like were your parents funny? Were you always funny? Like what? Because you grew up.
It's something I believe in life. You can only do one thing, and maybe a couple of things. But if you do the wrong thing, you're not gonna have a happy life.
Okay.
So
what did you do before comedy?
I was interested in academia. I was
Professor Miscusi.
Professor Miscusi from the University of
Professor
Kentucky
Antonio
Chicken.
Miscusi.
I wrote countless articles about the over-intellectualization of emotional responses to academia. But no, I graduated in anthropology. I was into that, and I wanted to do that. I wanted to do that because it was definitely interesting, and it was definitely eye-opening, and it was broadening my horizons a lot. But what was worrisome for me was the lack of audience. You couldn't have...
No one cared.
Well, there were amazing contents and really, really interesting topics being talked about in anthropology, which I studied. But at the same time, you didn't really have anybody to say this to, if not the fellow academics who would just like wank off on these things.
With that a lot. Because I got a master's in philosophy, and then I went from there to classical music production. And we would spend all this money and 100-person symphony orchestra recording a CD that 7 people listen to.
Yeah.
Just no audience for it. Perfection. But like, what's the fucking point? Also, there was not a lot of joy in it. It was all
That's the other
just
side.
exploration.
Yeah, that's the other thing. It's and also like a life that is always about intellectualism is really, on the one hand, it can be exciting and interesting. On the other hand, and I'm very prone to that. So it's like a muscle I've developed a lot. And I really needed something else, something other that would allow me to explore my life differently. And I also think that stand-up is still brainy.
Because it's exploratory explanation, a lot of it. Like observing and recontextualizing and explaining in a way that creates joy.
And the other thing for me was that I had to write essays that had to make logical sense. There was logical consistency involved at all times. And it was just so, it was blocking for my experience of joy. Like my experience, like I was happy to be clever, but I didn't really like to, the feeling, it wasn't an expanding feeling. And I wanted that expanding feeling.
So when you were speaking before where you were working at a place and your boss was like, stop making jokes here, find some other place.
Well, I hope that you have included that bit in the cut that you're doing of this podcast.
We'll see. Yeah.
Otherwise, we got to throw this bit.
That's
and
true.
even if we don't have it, we should keep it to keep people interested in
they'll
what
be like,
they
what?
haven't heard yet. I was working in Berlin for a guy who was assistant to an artist who told me to go and be funny somewhere else, not in the office.
But was that an academic office then?
No, I was working as an assistant for a filmmaker.
Oh, okay. So just all over the place.
I worked. I did. Well, that's the thing. I didn't do stand-up as a response to academia. After academia, which I left, I didn't even do the masters. I got into the masters, I didn't even go. I was like, I need to do arts. I need to do something related to the arts.
And when you were younger, did you do any arts? Did you do performance at all? Like, did you have theater in school? Nothing?
No, I didn't do much. The only thing I was doing was playing the drums.
Oh, you played the drums?
Yeah.
Oh, sweet. Me too.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah,
it's really this the physical thing I need.
Yeah. Do you still play drums, or it's been a while?
I don't have it, but I mean, sometimes I rent like rehearsals rooms and I just play. I still have it.
Yeah.
It's not like it's a muscle. You lose it, but I still have it. But so I tried different things, and I was interested in finding someone who would show me the way, because I didn't really know what to do with my life, because what I wanted to do, and already I'd taken a decision that was so far from where I'm coming from. I needed at some point a guide, and when I found this guy who was an artist and a filmmaker, I was like, it's good also for me to be close to like a more experienced person and to learn and then make up my mind, which is what eventually happened. Because then the guy was like, well, you have a knack for being annoying in a fun way. So maybe you should do it somewhere else. That's what he said.
What's the worst job you've ever had?
Maybe the worst jobs were with the people I made them. Like I was moving furniture for like people moving out of their homes. And I was doing this with people who have no spatial awareness. And not having spatial awareness about a washing machine is deeply troublesome if you're on the 5th floor.
What is spatial awareness? What do you mean?
Spatial awareness. Like you
Spatial?
don't. No, not special. Spatial.
Like
Spatial.
area.
The space. You're not aware of how space is. Okay. Like, people who are not comfortable in their body, not because they have body dysmorphia, but just because they're really bad at understanding reality through their body.
Spatial awareness.
Yeah.
That's an interesting way to put body dysmorphia, is spatial awareness deficiency. That is kind of true.
I don't know about that. But
I don't know. Maybe.
There's a connection there, maybe just in my mind. Thank you for your question, by the way.
You're welcome.
Thanks.
Prego.
My first set was in 2014. So I before starting doing stand-up, I was doing improv, but not the American way. It was improv. It was run by a Jew. So it was, in my opinion, better because they know how to run things. And so Then I decided.
Wait a minute. You were angry about racism to you, Italian. You're fucking saying this.
He's Jewish.
Shit, you son of a bitch.
Listen, you've been calling me Jimmy Pepperoni for days. And for once that I make a reference that everybody would understand. Because Jimmy Pepperoni, nobody understands what you're talking about. If I say Jews run things, everybody understands. So I have the mainstream on my side. Okay.
Mainstream racism.
Mainstream, well, we've lost a few races before. Can we please?
Don't worry. I have editing capabilities. I cut things out.
We cut
point.
this.
Anyways, with that said.
Which part? This.
With that said. 2 p.m. Jews. Keep going.
No, I'm very interested.
I'm interested. I actually
can I
wanna
be
know.
I'm interested.
the bad cop? The bad cop?
good cop.
You will
You're
be
a
the
good
good cop in this,
I mean,
in
I'm
this
the
case.
good cop.
You'll be
Okay.
taking with seriously your guest, which would be what's expected from.
Okay, now let's start. Let's move on.
So I used to do improv before. I was working in Berlin for a guy who was assistant to an artist who told me to go and be funny somewhere else, not in the office. So also because he was American, he had some connections to Chicago. He helped me to go to the US. I had already been going to the US for a while already. No, I didn't. That's a lie. I went for something else. I apologize. I made a mistake here with my own biography. Anyway, we went to Chicago for work and I could take some classes at Second City. So I was doing improv classes. And the last week, I sort of made a mistake with the bookings and I booked stand-up comedy. So it was a class in stand-up comedy.
Instead of improv.
It was run by Ever Maynard, who is a wonderful comedian from Texas, but she lives in LA, I think now. Anyway, it was like a week of stand-up. A stand-up class was basically people just talking at each other on a stage. We had a nice room with a stage, and it was just like about. The teacher was just facilitating people being comfortable in front of each other. So I had some very bad jokes that
Can
involved.
you tell us one?
That it was something like, you Americans are so scared of everybody, your neighbors. You don't want your neighbors in. But Canadians, they would kill to be in the States. Mexicans kill each other in the States. I had jokes like this, which is not a joke.
Not a joke. It's not even a.
I know, but this is why I didn't want to say it.
Yeah.
And she was like, you should not do these jokes are a bit too heavy. Mm-hmm. And so you should sit at the piano. There was a piano on stage, which I didn't know how to play. And I was like, are you sure I should sit by the piano? Absolutely, yes. And so I was doing these jokes when I did because then at 2:30 p.m. we had the evening in the afternoon. So we had the show.
No, but it's interesting to me that your person at work, the boss, he wasn't saying it negatively. I thought you were saying like,
no, he was upset. He was upset because
but yet he still helped you out.
I would over-comment because I was his personal assistant. I would over-comment on every single aspect of his work and his life, and he didn't like that at all.
But he still helped you to do something else. He still helped you to do comedy.
It was a very positive influence for me.
But he was pissed off. Genuinely, he was mad.
He was genuinely pissed off, but also it was... we had a close relationship. And so, when people get mad at each other, but also they don't want that to happen anymore, so they're proactive about it. So they just...
It's literally, I've known you a day and a half. I've already had that with you. I think you have a specifically like combative nature, but you're also not negative.
No. I don't like to be. I like to argue for fun.
Yeah. Exactly. So sometimes when I argue with someone, it's like argument for like sake of argument. But like it does come off. Sometimes I'm like, I don't want to argue right now. Fuck off. And then I'm like, you don't actually mean negative. Let me calm down.
Yeah.
I do feel a little like your combative nature is obvious, but your positivity is obvious too. And it's an interesting mix.
Yeah.
I
like
Yeah. Okay. What?
But this is very good. This is better than my astrologer.
I noticed. That's why I asked you at the
Ariel
beginning.
is very sensitive.
He's a sensitive man.
I'm a very sensitive guy.
You have your legs too
spread
wide.
Sorry, my dick is out. But like, that's why I asked you when we first had the dinner. Like, do you have any siblings? And
Because I didn't fight enough.
no, you fight too much. If you had siblings, you'd probably fight a little less.
Yes. I thank my mother, my father for taking a good chance on me, for being the only one, and for being so understanding.
Right.
But definitely, which has helped me to, in a way, get rid of any mature relationship with people, and finally get into the immature, more in a way, because when you argue for the sake of people take this argument very seriously.
Yeah.
And I don't like that. You say you're an adult, you're mature because you take arguments seriously. I don't like that. I like to argue because arguing is the best way. Or when you're a child, you just argue, but then nothing major really happens. There's no consequences.
But conflict is needed sometimes.
Conflict is necessary for the growth of anything, including plants.
Yeah, don't you?
True.
I mean, okay, but also can be a giant waste of time.
What?
It could
Just
be
arguing for no reason.
Well, okay, but of course you need to keep it in check. It's not necessarily. It's not arguing.
I understand. It is art, but for instance.
But it's not petty. It's like, for me, it's like a satire of arguing.
Yes, and
there is a philosopher Benasayag. I don't know if you know him. He wrote Elogium to the conflict, and he writes about the fact that conflict is needed for the growth, because otherwise you will the conflict will grow inside you, and you will get frustrated, and the society will not. How can the society grow without conflict between people?
And so suddenly we're talking about political correctness.
No, it's not political. It's philosophy. No,
it's so connected.
It's not Yeah, it's also because it can
why
be.
Why is it connected then?
Arguing. Because there's when you move towards a society that doesn't want to have conflict, it's also because it tries to be perfect in a way. You try to, on the surface, not to have any conflict, and so make it look like it's a very open-minded society, but at the same time, it's just superficially so. And it's not necessarily about political correctness in a way. That's true. It's really just about over.
But it can be applied to politics. For example, in Italian, we have the party that will win, and we have the opposition. The opposition is a healthy part of the government. Must to exist, depending on right wings, left wings, or whatever. But because the conflict is needed to grow.
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
No, I'm just saying that it's just like when you experience emotions, when you experience rage, or when you experience. You shouldn't feel bad for experiencing rage or anger or all of that. You should, though, be aware that this is, and not let these emotions drive your experience of life.
Sure.
But just be aware, because it makes no sense to repress them, like Jordan. It makes no sense to repress it, whatever you are.
Frutti di mare.
just still racist. No, I honestly, I completely understand, of course. The thing is sometimes just
Yes.
Sometimes when you're talking about conflict, doing growth and stuff, there's conflicts that are necessary, and there's conflicts that are completely unnecessary. And I think your conflicts are very playful when you're just doing like conflict when we're joking around.
Yeah.
For me,
it's a conflict.
In my opinion,
joke.
conflict is necessary when you feel that your person or your persona need to be quiet. Like, let's cut this part.
Yeah, we'll cut everything.
I got confused. But I think that conflict is necessary when you feel that your persona is being
attacked,
and your values, the inner values, they are under oppression.
Right. Okay.
Yes.
So but I could see. So for instance, I'm the youngest of three. And
you want to psychologize me.
No,
I understand.
No. I'm psychologizing myself right now.
Yeah.
That my whole upbringing is when conflict's around, I'm trying to stop the conflict. I'm trying to resolve the conflict.
Yes.
And so
So you think
First
I
be-
didn't try to stop conflicts in my life?
I think you create the conflict.
No, I didn't.
Should we
think so.
talk about comedy?
Yeah, we will. But I can edit this any way I want.
Yeah, we can.
So don't worry. But do you think that you had too much conflict in your life?
Yes, I did.
Too
I
much.
did, but I'm very, very sensitive to conflict. And so maybe it wasn't as much conflict as I thought it was. You know? Maybe like but for my standards, it was just like, there's too much going on.
Do you think you created some conflict that shouldn't have happened?
No, not in my upbringing.
Can I ask you what was your first joke?
Yeah, let's.
My first joke was this. Well, the one that I said before about
The
Mexicans
first
and Canadians.
Your first.
The first joke I wrote, proper joke.
Yeah.
My first proper joke was this. My parents cheat on each other. My mom cheats on my dad. My dad cheats on my mother. My parents never found out that on Saturday afternoons I was seeing another family.
You cheated on your family?
I cheated on my family. That's the joke. Because it's a family thing. So
Yeah.
they cheated on each other. So I cheat on them. But by cheating on them, I basically repeat and reperpetrate the same thing
Behavior.
that they did to me.
The same
So you're
behavior.
creating conflict
So I'm
in that
creating.
way.
No, I'm creating my own life by repeating. Basically, it's the freedom that has been oppressing me.
And how do you feel? How do you feel when you go up on stage? Do you feel that this conflict
And listen, I brought up the conflict thing just because it was interesting to me, but I didn't realize it would push a button.
No, I know. I have the feeling that we've been saving a lot of we have a lot of conversations to have, which are due because we've been just fooling around for the past day and a half, and we haven't really talked
It's been a
about
great time.
anything. And now we're just trying to have conversations that both have to make me look like I'm a comedian, but also we just want to know each other.
Yeah.
That's the same.
I think a little bit more of that. Like I kind
So
of want to know
why-
you a
why
little
don't-
bit more in
yeah,
depth,
why
but
don't-
it's
yeah,
not funny if that do that sometimes.
Oh, you do? You want to? Because
We don't have to be funny.
You don't have to be funny.
Okay.
A little bit. I am like, oh, maybe this is a little too serious because I'm actually interested in your upbringing and who you are.
But this is the people will find it interesting.
Fair enough.
Rather than shits and giggles, like.
Yeah.
Sure.
Well, I want to say Jimmy Pepperoni is not a very
No, that's-
articulate type
I'm
of
not
joke,
saying.
but
I'm not saying let's go back to Jimmy Pepperoni. I'm saying
Something in between
I'm
Jimmy Pepperoni
something
and-
about comedy.
And listen,
and
and truthfully, I've done this before with other interviews where we start with something and I put it at the end as
Yeah.
opposed to I switch it around because of the subject matter. So it's not a big. It's truly like the editing and shit. I'll figure it out. That's fine.
no, but also you shouldn't work so hard. The state of our industry.
Yeah.
You guys, what do you guys think about the state of comedy? Do you agree that comedy is living through a new renaissance after
Renaissance.
after the COVID?
Si.
Yeah?
Si.
Do you agree?
What do you think?
I wholeheartedly disagree. I think there's too much comedy around. There's far too much comedy, and everybody does it. And it's.
What do you mean by too
You
much?
think that is this a bit or do you actually
No,
think this?
This is how I speak.
I don't mean the way you're saying it. I mean what you
the
were saying.
content.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I am just. These are thoughts that I have. I don't
I don't think there's enough comedy.
Well, listen, like we're doing European comedy, which is very niche in and of itself, because it's also driven by expats. Expats who basically should be. Can we say they should do this at home?
They should do
shouldn't-
comedy at home?
They shouldn't.
Oh, in
What
their
the
home
expat
countries.
comedians or the?
Aren't you an Italian living in Berlin?
When I started doing, but that's different. I have a real passion. The thing is that there are a lot of people. The first mics I saw in Berlin were run by English and Americans, and even here in Rome there is an open mic. You maybe don't know about this. It's like on Tuesdays
Yeah, I know, but-
in this Irish pub. And
I've been there. I performed there.
It's a happening basically for it's like, oh, let's do things. It's colonialism, you know. Like when you have the Brits going to Australia, they built houses in Australia, which is a place that it doesn't look like the UK at all. They made houses just like in the UK because they made them feel familiar. So there's a lot of events, a lot of things that Americans and expats set up have become, it's motivated by that need of feeling close to home, but you're not at home. So at the same time, a lot of then YouTube happened. No, from the past YouTube happened, 10, 15 years. A lot of shows, Bill Hicks, George Carlin, Ricky Gervais, Jimmy Pepperoni, they all got subtitled, right? They all got subtitled, and Europeans started to watch this thing, and they started to go like, oh my God, I want to do the same. And I fall into that category of people who thought, oh, me too. I could be American. I could be British. I could enter the world that matters through comedy because my country is so backwards, doesn't have these things that these Americans and English have. And now we are in this scene in which basically we are furthering the American message. We're furthering the American imperialism through comedy. Do you understand?
Bringing democracy to the people.
How sick this is. Exactly.
Yeah.
We're bringing democracy.
But why is that a bad thing? Why isn't it like bringing...
It's not a bad thing. I'm just saying is that there's too much comedy.
But I think it's a good thing that,
You're an insane person.
Italians brought pizza and pasta to the U.S. and Americans are bringing...
Yeah, but they brought the mafia as well.
Yeah, it's true.
Godfather, great movies.
Like, so you mean it's like, for example, when there is a trend in a city to open French fry stores, and then everyone open French fry stores.
Yeah.
And then there are too many French fry stores, and then the French fries lose meaning.
They lose their meaning.
They lose their meaning.
But at the same time, yes, please.
Backtrack.
Okay. Okay, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Woof.
No, I can see you are like. Can I see? I see your veins. I
see
your veins on the. Yeah.
I just think what you said is
deeply
upsetting,
troubling.
No, I just think. First of all, sometimes when you speak, I don't know if you're completely joking and you're trying to push buttons, or if you're truly.
You're red on your face. So definitely.
Well, I've been drinking, but I do think what you said is like there's no problem with too much comedy, and when you're comparing people invading a country and destroying lives and comedy, it's not the same thing. So obviously it's a joke.
Don't you say we're killing?
Yeah, but that's
so
what?
I'm sorry,
what you're saying, Jimmy Pepperoni, is offensive.
It is silly what you're saying that too much comedy,
I think
right?
Here's to
yeah.
follow
I
up
just
on his
wanted
point.
to know what you think about what I just said.
I think maybe there's too much.
It's not like
too much not good comedy or too much hack comedy or too much like I'm doing this as like because this is my Tuesday night fun time. Also, kind of what's wrong with that. But like if there's too much of the McDonald's style of comedy, then the good comedy gets worse as well. And the audiences get used to...
You don't agree?
No, because I think it's a market game theory in the sense that if there is more comedies because there is also more demand, because otherwise if there is more comedy it means that there is more audience that watch comedy. So
I just wonder there is more demand and people are more educated about it, but I also just wonder what were these people doing before? What was their pastime? Were they actually sad? Why do people need comedy?
I was sad before comedy. Yeah. I'm so much happier now that I'm doing comedy. This is all I want to do.
It shows.
Yeah.
From the day and a half I met you, I see it. You're happier than from before I knew you.
No, by the way, I totally agree that it doesn't matter even if there's a lot of bad stuff around. I think good stuff will always be there.
Yeah.
You know? I don't think it makes it worse.
Also, Jerry Seinfeld says this thing that like you don't have to do anything about the bad comedians. Like they just get weeded out. Like and the good comedy succeeds, and
they
you don't
get weeded out. But
they don't.
That's what I'm saying. I'm relaying what Jerry Seinfeld said. I'm not saying I agree with
which
this.
is what matters.
Yeah. Now, dude, but
question.
Yes. What?
Yes, I have to ask a question.
I literally was.
have a question.
Yeah,
Thank you for noticing.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
You asked the question.
But you have to ask me a question, Ariel, because you look troubled.
Yes. Is there an issue with too much comedy? Is it a problem?
people need escape. I don't think comedy is the problem at all. I think comedy has, if it's done well, is the best thing possible. I think there's a big problem with escapism in general, that people need to be entertained and are constantly entertained, even just by looking at their phones constantly, because things don't make sense for many people anymore, in my opinion. But this is, for me, it's fine. For what I do, I'm very happy about it. But in general, it's not a good thing, I think.
But I mean, compared to looking at your phone, comedy is like a very community-oriented, social, joyful kind of entertainment.
For sure. No, that's why I'm saying it's the best thing. It's the best thing to do.
Great alternative to looking
And
at your phone.
we're using the word comedy for stand-up, really.
We're using comedy for stand-up.
Stand-up.
Which is no other form.
What
Yes,
is
you had
your
a question.
creative process to write?
What?
I was bored of
It's
this
good. It's
topic.
good.
Sorry.
It's good. Yeah, continue.
Complete.
No, it's
Just
Yeah. What's your process?
I think I think it's something that makes me laugh. If there's something that makes me laugh, I will try to recreate it and follow through. What did you?
if, for example, you write something. Okay, this podcast, it's listened mainly by probably, I hope so, our community of the Comedy Hall. And if you're not, go to check it out. And
You're plugging our podcast in the podcast?
yeah.
If you're not our audience, you should check this out.
And I mean, people are interested in how you write your material, for example. So
No, for example.
so what about conflict?
It'd be a nightmare to edit.
No, it's okay.
I'm having a nice
like
time.
it.
You're having a nice time.
I like it.
I'm
Filippo,
having a nice
Can you
time.
please give it up for Ukraine?
Give it up for Ukraine, everyone. Come on. Just give it up for Ukraine.
Ukraine. Yeah.
Is this what you guys actually managed to do in Poland? Do you manage to get applauses like this?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
This
No,
guy,
Jordan is the
that's an
master
inside
of
joke.
this.
Give it up for Ukraine.
That's an inside joke because Jordan, he'll get no laughs, and they'll be like, you know what, give it up for Ukraine.
This was at a Ukraine
Oh,
benefit.
this is so good.
This was
it's
at a-
very good.
He's like, no, what? He's bombing. Give it up for Ukraine.
Guys, I don't bomb. I'm not Russia. This was at one show, a Ukraine benefit show where nothing was working for most people.
Then it's a completely different thing. If it says "Give it up for Ukraine" on a pro-Ukraine show, that's
Yeah.
fine.
The version they're saying is Jordan always bombs and always says "Give it up for Ukraine,"
No,
and that's
no, no, no,
unfair.
no. No,
as a
Depending on the war
characterization.
going on, it goes
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
give it
yeah.
up for Afghanistan.
Give it up, yeah.
No. It
No,
really
but-
was. We raised money for Ukraine.
But what was funny about that is I didn't have a closing joke, so I did end my set with, and I'll finish on this. Let's give it up for Ukraine, and then an applause.
And Jordan, you did
The mess.
give it up for Ukraine
Last night,
yeah.
that's because I have a song that people used to clap for a part of the song, and that was sort of part of the song to say that, to give it up for Ukraine, because I mentioned
It
Volodymyr
sounded like it was out of
Zelensky.
nowhere. It's true.
Volodymyr Zelensky is the president of Ukraine.
Oh, I see.
This podcast is gonna last a couple of hours, I think.
No, you're absolutely right that in general, we don't know each other very well. I mean, you know Bea better than you know us. And there is for me, a certain excitement or interest in your life. And so it is all over the place a little bit. But
Do you want to start from the beginning?
yeah, how about we start from the beginning?
And we keep it short.
So, guys, follow the Comedy Hall on Facebook, on Instagram. Check out our shows. We will be so happy to talk with you. Also, if you have any suggestion about possible topics for this podcast, reach out. If you want to be part of the podcast, reach out. If you're a comedian and you stop by Warsaw, come and we will have fun together on stage. So, ciao.